so grateful to be here. It is amazing to see you all, to be present with you all, and thank you so much. Please grab your seats. I appreciate you so much. How are you all doing? It is my true pleasure to be with you here today to talk about something that I believe in so deeply, and I've been watching backstage, and it's been phenomenal to hear you talk about new opportunities, new possibilities, and the limitless potential that exists within this world and this industry right now. And I'm going to talk to you today about why connected thinkers will rule the future, why people like you will rule the future of your industry and many other industries, and how that's possible. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you all to just stand up once again. Sorry I let you sit down and ask you to stand up again. Just wanted to take a break. This session is going to be interactive. I'm going to be needing your support and energy back from me as well. You're going to be working with me on a few little things here. As you heard before, I spent 3 years of my life living as a monk in India, and it was truly some of the most meaningful work that I've ever done. And I'm going to start off by doing a little breathing exercise for all of us to get some energy into our lungs and body. So I want you to breathe in and raise your arms to your sides. Don't hurt anyone. Breathe out and take them to the top. Breathe in and bring them back down to the sides. Breathe out and bring them to the middle. And I want you to cross your fingers like this. And I want you to place your left thumb over your right thumb over your left thumb, or keep them straight just like this. So you get a choice, your left thumb over your right thumb over your left thumb, or you can keep them straight just like this. You can see who's really indecisive in the room. I see you there. All right, hold one of those positions. Okay, great, hold. Not your breath, just the position. Okay, great. I also spent a lot of time studying behavioral science and behavioral psychology. I'm fascinated by the mind and why we do what we do, why we lie, cheat, steal, why we lead, why we look for infinite possibilities, why we look for new opportunities. So, how many of you currently have your left thumb over your right thumb? Raise your hands. Make some noise if you want. So in some parts of behavioral psychology, if you have your left thumb over your right thumb, it means that you're extremely, extremely intelligent. Right? Give yourselves a little pat on the back. Make sure that your boss notices. Alright, how many of you have your right thumb over your left thumb, the opposite? Okay, great. When someone's behavioral psychology, that means that you're extremely, extremely attractive. It's not going to last forever. Take a picture, send this selfie right now, send it to that person that you've been interested in for a while, hasn't gone back to you. This is your moment. And how many of you actually have your thumbs both straight, pointing like this? Well, in some parts of behavioral psychology, that means that you're neither. Give yourself a round of applause, take a seat. Thank you for joining in, thank you for joining in. There was a reason for that superfluousness by me. And the reason is because today, so much of our world is divided and disconnected, left and right, black and white, friends and family. We have things we love to do. We have things we have to do. We have things that we dream about, things that we wish we never had to think about. There's so much disconnect in our minds, in our hearts, in our lives, just in every possible way. There's tension between work and life. But today we're talking about why connected thinkers will rule the future. And I'm going to be sharing with you the habits and mindsets of connected thinkers. How we can practice them in our daily lives, in our work, so that we don't miss out on opportunities, so that we create opportunities. I want to start off by telling you about an experience that I had a few years ago.
You're good.
And this is when I lived in New York. And I was traveling to LA. How many people here have been to LA? Raise your hands. How many people like LA? Keep your hands up. I can't see anything, but I guessed what everyone did, which was no. So I was on this trip. I live in LA now, by the way. But anyway, I was born and raised in London. Lived in New York at the time. I was on a trip to LA at the time. And I took out my phone and I sent a tweet. How many of you use Twitter? Raise your hands. Okay, a few people. I sent a tweet. And on that tweet, I said, I can't wait to go to LA, tagged in LA Tourism, tagged in my airline, tagged in the hotel. And I said, I really, really hope I can get reservations at my favorite pizza place. How many of everyone likes pizza? Make some noise. And then I said, I really hope, I tagged in the favorite pizza place. And then I said, I really hope I can get tickets to the LA Lakers game because I'm a big basketball fan. Any basketball fans in the house? All right, so I tagged them all in. Sent the tweet, thought nothing of it, got onto the plane, went to sleep, got off at the other side, jumped into a lift, grabbed my bags, got off at the hotel, was greeted by the concierge. They said, hi, Mr. Shetty, it's great to have you here. They told me about the amenities and everything else at the hotel. And then they said to me, actually, Mr. Shetty, we saw your tweet and we managed to get you a reservation at your favorite pizza place. And we even got you tickets to the LA Lakers game. They're upstairs in your room. That's pretty amazing, right? Woo! Now that didn't really happen. But imagine if it did. It could have happened. It should have happened. I mean, all parts of technology allow for it to happen. Technologically, it makes sense. Strategically, it makes sense. In every possible way, that makes sense. And by your response, I could judge that it was pretty impressive. And so whichever brand made that happen, that would have been that brand's moment of having made one of the most incredible pieces of data connection happen of all time. But it didn't happen. I heard a few ahs in the audience. I appreciate the empathy. It didn't happen because we're surrounded by disconnected thinking. Let me give you a few more examples. I was actually reading these on the way here, and I need to read them to you because they are hilarious. Listen to this one. This was said by a British person, so I'm allowed to make fun of them, I guess. And it was said about American people, so perfect audience. Don't listen to anything I say after this, basically. The Americans have need of the telephone, but we do not. We have plenty of messenger boys. Sir William Price, chief engineer at the British Post Office. That was his perspective, that Americans needed phones and the Brits did not. Now listen to this. The horse, this is in 1903, the horse is here to stay, but the automobile is only a novelty, a fad. This was said by the president of the Michigan Savings Bank, advising Henry Ford's lawyer. Right? It's fascinating. Now, wait, there's loads more, but I'll read one more. 1977. There is no reason, not even there is no possibility, there is no reason for any individual to have a computer in his home. Ken Olsen, founder of Digital Equipment Corp. So why am I sharing all that with you? I'm sharing that with you because that is the power of disconnected thinking. Most people, when someone comes across something new, when someone comes across something fresh, when someone comes across something powerful and different, everyone writes it off because it's scary, it's uncertain, we can't see that far ahead. And I just read it out. That was the phone, that was cars, that was the internet, computers. The list goes on and on and on. Humans have not been great at predicting what may work when it comes to new innovation. So when I come here today to talk to you about connected thinking and innovation, it's hard, it's challenging. And what I've realized is that it's not because we don't understand new technology. You can learn that on a YouTube video, you can learn about that on a podcast, you can learn about that in a book. But really it's a mindset thing. What's holding you back is not technology or opportunity or possibility. What's holding us back is our mindset. And so what I want to do today is I want to shift our mindset away from those ideas that have such a strong hold on it. I want to share with you another story before I dive into the habits. And this story was often told by the Buddha. We would hear about this in the monastery that I lived in often. And in this story, there's a person just like you and just like me who's on a journey. And on this journey, they come across many obstacles just like you and just like me. Their first obstacle happens to be a fast-flowing river. This fast-flowing river is right in front of them, and they want to get to the other side. And they're wondering, how do we do that? How do I do that? They try to test a log. They roll a log out, and the log's completely taken away. The current is way too fast. So they realize that they need to build a mode of transport. They decide to craft a raft. They lay down 2 layers of bamboo. They grab some rope. They tie up the corners. They even build themselves an oar. And this time they jump on and they paddle and paddle and paddle, and then they paddle with all their strength and all their might and all the energy that they have, and they finally make it to the other side. And when they make it to the other side, this person thinks to themselves, that raft saved my life. That raft changed my life. Without that raft, I would not be alive today, rightly so. So they decide to strap that raft to their back and walk around with it for the rest of their life. They say, I'm going to carry this around wherever I go. Now, this person continues their journey, and just like you and me, they come across a new challenge. Except this time, the challenge isn't a fast-flowing river. This time, the challenge is a tall, wooded forest with trees dotted at every other step. So this person's trying to get through, and they're trying to maneuver and navigate through, and the raft keeps getting stuck, and it's getting chipped, and it's breaking off, and they're just trying to figure out how they can break through. The Buddha says that at this point, this person has a really important decision to make. They have 2 choices. One choice is that they continue to hold on to this raft that saved their life and struggle to get through this forest and maybe never even get through. Or they put down the raft, knowing they can build it again at any time and walk through freely. This is the situation we're in with our mindset. We have rafts that worked before. We have mindsets that worked before, like that raft. And we're carrying it around with us, and then we come across a tall wooded forest. And then we get stuck. And we're trying to drag that same mindset through the forest, not realizing that there's a completely different mindset required at this time. There's a beautiful piece of Zen wisdom that's been shared for thousands of years. And what it says to us is this, that we don't realize that half the time the thing that's weighing us down, the thing that's holding us back, is what we're holding on to. In this story, the Buddha says the person decided to put down the raft and walk through freely. I want to ask you all today, what part of your mindset are you going to leave behind today? When you walk out of this room tonight, what part of it are you going to say, you know, I might need to leave that behind. I might need to let go of that. That doesn't serve me anymore. So let's dive in. One of the first habits of a connected thinker, when they looked at 3,000 leaders and they asked them what they believed was the number 1 skill of a leader, studied it, 3,000 leaders, asked them for their number 1 skill. They asked them to rank leadership skills, but with the number 1 skill at the top. What do you think it was? Shout it out. Shout it out louder.
Communication.
Compassion. Personal responsibility. Integrity. Consistency. Humility. Adaptability. Being positive. I didn't hear that one. Okay? Listening, leverage, so vision. A lot of these were on the list. Inspiration. Okay, these are all great. Connection. These are all fantastic, and that's probably the closest actually. So, who said connection? What's your name? Nope. Don't want to shout out your name? Michael. Give Michael a round of applause, everyone. So connection's probably the closest, and I'll tell you why. The way that connection was described was actually the word that all these leaders used was surprising. But all of them agreed that the number one skill of a leader was something known as associating or connecting. And it was the ability to connect seemingly opposite things. Leaders were able to look at anomalies to other people, but spot connections. They were able to look at something that looked random and completely disconnected and find the pattern and find the parallel. A real life example of this, of why we struggle with this, is that we're surrounded by people who often think similarly to us. We're surrounded by people who kids go to the same schools, we all follow the same people, we watch the same people, we listen to the same people. We don't necessarily have enough diversity in our network of background, of walk of life experience, that we can't really entertain a truly new, original, creative idea. I'll give you a real life example. This gentleman, everyone knows his name, Mark Zuckerberg, when he was confused about the direction of Facebook in 2009, Facebook was only 5 years old, he went to his mentor to ask for what he should do next, how he should figure out, at that time, the mission of Facebook. His mentor happened to be Steve Jobs. Pretty good mentor to have. So Mark went up to Steve, and he said, "What do I do, Steve? I'm stuck." Now, if you imagine back to 2009, Steve Jobs is one of the most influential people on the planet. There's pretty much no one he can't call, no money he can't raise, no business deal he can't make happen if he really wants to. And Mark tells this story, and he said that Steve didn't tell him to go to a venture capitalist or a hedge fund or a financier or a VC or anyone in the investment world or financial world, or in the tech world for that matter. Mark said that Steve told him to go and live in a monastery in India with monks. And he said that if you do that, by going there and experiencing what they experience, you'll figure out what the vision is for what you want to do. And Mark says that he did that, and that's what led him to the initial idea of connecting people. Now, what I find fascinating about that is, take a moment to think about your network of people that you go to. Often we have chats or we have email chains. We ask the same people for their insights and their advice. Same sorts of thoughts. I want you to think about this when you walk out today. Who is that random, everyone needs one random friend, right? If you're not laughing right now, you are that random friend. And someone's thinking about you, right? Someone's visualizing you right now. But who is that friend in your life? Who's that person who may play devil's advocate too much? They may always try and disagree with you. They may always have some smart thing to say, but there's validity in that. One of the biggest enemies of creativity is being surrounded by people who think the same way. And so when you're trying to innovate in your workplace, when you're trying to change things in your organization, think about who is someone that I'd like to speak to who I believe is going to give me a different perspective than the one I'm used to. Who can I call that's not just going to annoy me and be frustrating, but who do I actually have in my life that sees things differently, that has a different life experience? Because that's the person that's going to inspire this idea to go on a completely different trajectory. And that's just one example. But there are so many countless business examples where echo chambers have restricted ideas. Echo chambers have blocked ideas rather than seeing them flourish. So that's mindset number one. How do we surround ourselves with a community that's diverse of backgrounds, experiences, walks of life, socioeconomic backgrounds, different beliefs, different values, and try and identify those people in your life today, because their opinion is more valuable than you might believe. Now for this second one, I'm going to ask you all to stand up again. So this one, I'm going to ask you two questions, and I want you to answer this about yourself. Not what your family thinks about you, not what your community thinks about you, not what your company thinks about you, how you view yourself. Because the second mindset that blocks us is not playing to our strengths. Thinking that we might have to develop someone else's skills. So, the first question I'm going to ask you all is, are you more outgoing or are you more reserved? Now, people say, well, I'm both. And the answer is, we're not. We're one more than the other. When we're feeling our best, when our energy's great, we choose one over the other. Now, neither is a disadvantage or an advantage. They're both equal in terms of confidence. Outgoing people, they're the ones who are the life of the party. They start the conversations. They drag people onto the dance floor. The reserved people are as confident, but they may wait and want to have a one-to-one conversation at the back. They may want to listen and observe more than they speak. So, if you believe you're more outgoing, I want you to head to this side of the room. And if you believe you're more reserved, I want you to head to this side of the room. This is the middle. So outgoing people head this way, reserved people head that way. And if you need to talk while you move, you're outgoing. So just get over on this side. You don't need to have a conversation. Outgoing people on this side, reserved people on this side.
This is a real estate company.
Okay, how's it going? You're getting there, you're getting there.
I'm staying put.
Okay, outgoing people, make some noise. Reserved people, make some noise. Okay, way to defeat the stereotype. I was hoping for a bit more like, all right. Okay, great. Carry on switching away, but second question. Are you more people-focused or task-focused? We're all of them, but we choose one over the other, and I'll explain how. If you're more people-focused, right now you're thinking, is everyone having a good time? Is everyone enjoying the energy in the room? Are people having a good experience? If you're task-focused, you've got, God, Jay hasn't got a long time left on stage. What if someone falls over? Oh no, the health and safety, right? And neither's good or bad. Like they're both good things to think about, but we think about one over the other first. And again, think about how you are. So I want you to stay on your side. Once you've crossed over, stay on your side. But if you're outgoing, I want you to come forward. And if you're task, I want you to go backwards. So you're going to stay on that side once you made that decision. And if you're outgoing, I want you to come forward on your side. And if you're task, I want you to go backwards on your side. Go. So once you've crossed over first time, now you're going back or forward. Forward if you're outgoing, backwards if you're task. Good movement, good movement. You're moving fast.
Hey Brian, good to see you.
Okay. If you're outgoing and task at the back, make some noise. If you're outgoing and people, make some noise. If you're reserved and task, make some noise. And And if you're reserved and people, make some noise. Okay, great. So, just to give you a bit of background, we have divided this room into 4 key personality traits. Now, if you really want to get into psychology, you could break everyone down into 16 personality traits. And if you wanted to go really deep, you could divide a room into 64 personality traits. Now, I don't think anyone wants to stand around and being divided into 64 different groups. Don't tempt me, don't tempt me. It's going to get really difficult. So, so you are going to see a lot of crossovers, obviously, with 4, but I want you to entertain the idea of where are we playing to our strengths. So let me tell you about each of these different groups. The group at the back, they're outgoing and task. They're doers, they're directors, they get stuff done, they schedule, they plan, they like deadlines. These are the people that make you cry, right? And they're proud of it. They're proud of it too, okay? They're proud of it, but no, they get stuff done, they're really important, they take action. This group is ready, fire, aim. They shoot before they aim because they want to get going. They want to like make things happen, okay? Now, this group here, outgoing and people. These people are ideators, they're inspirers, they're influencers, they're people who love having high energy in the room, as you can tell. This group is ready, talk, right? Sometimes they do stuff too, but they love the inspiration. Okay, now this group at the back, reserved and task. As you can tell, this group is cautious, calculative, they're detail-oriented, they're quality-oriented, they're focused on making sure something actually works. This group is the group that sends you emails telling you have spelling mistakes in your emails, right? Because they're so focused on making sure that it's accurate. That group is ready, aim, 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 aim. They keep aiming. Perfectionists, they want to get it perfect and get it right. And this group finally over here is reserved and people. They're stable, they're supportive, they're highly emotionally intelligent, they love people, they love mediating, they love making sure that everyone's really connected and working together. This group is ready, hug, hug, hug. If you want a hug, this is the group of people that you go to. Let's get an R. So this group really cares about people. Now, we're all of these things, obviously, but we care about something more than the other. And a key part of creativity is the collaboration and the synergy between our different skills. Now, there's a beautiful statement by Albert Einstein where he said that everyone's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life believing that it's stupid. So, when we're fishes trying to be birds, or we're birds trying to be monkeys, or we're monkeys trying to be lions, or we're lions trying to be zebra, or we're zebra trying to be giraffe, or we're giraffe trying to be whatever, I'm running out of animals, but you get the point. Like, the point is that when you're trying to be something you're not, you're giving up the gift and the potential and the opportunity that only you can create. Without that group, nothing would ever get done in the way that it does, at the speed it does. But if we only had that group, we'd all cry. Right? If we didn't have this group, there would be no energy in the room. There wouldn't be persuasion. They wouldn't necessarily be the same. There wouldn't be the same sales. There wouldn't be the same negotiation. But if we only had them, we'd just do blue sky thinking all day. Right? And then the group at the back, if we didn't have them, nothing would ever work. Nothing would actually ever make sense. Things wouldn't align. If we only had them, we'd keep aiming and aiming and aiming and aiming. And in this group, if we didn't have them, people wouldn't get along in companies. People wouldn't feel heard and felt and seen inside an organization. They wouldn't feel loved and cared for. If we only had them, we'd just hug all day, which maybe isn't a bad idea, I don't know. But the point being that we need each and every person. And often when we're in a company, we look at people and we go, why don't you get it? Right? Why don't you get it? So this group is saying to that group, think bigger. Come on, get over the details. Who cares? And that group saying, guys, while you've got your head in the sky, this thing doesn't actually work. Right? That group is saying, look, we need to get things done. It doesn't matter how people feel. And this group saying, well, what's the point of worrying about getting things done if people don't feel good? And we sit inside our companies and we go, what is wrong with you? And we don't realize that each person doing their job accurately and correctly actually improves the whole experience for the customer, for ourselves, for our leaders, for every single person. You couldn't have, and as you can see inside this incredible room, we have people in each one of these quadrants equally. A poor company or a poor organization or a poor team is one where you have a dominance in one area and you actually have gaps. So to see a room like this is what Earth was made for. This is what we actually need. Is what we recognize, right? This is what we actually need. Give yourself a round of applause. Take a seat. Grab your seat back. Grab your seats back. Thank you for taking part in that. And while you make your way back, outgoing people don't start conversations. Demanding people, just be a bit more understanding. Accurate people, you don't have to sit in your exact position or seat. It can be a bit, more fluid. And huggers, please wait for hugs till after the session. Just wait a bit longer.
Where were you supposed to go? Sorry.
Awesome, make your way back.
We didn't make it there. We only got halfway.
Love you too, thank you so much.
I was like, well, I guess. Which quadrants should I install? You? Yeah. I thought you were in there.
Oh, love you too, thank you so much. Awesome, thank you, man. Okay, great, that was fast, everyone. Good job, give yourself another round of applause. Okay, so the first mindset that holds us back from creativity was being surrounded by the same people. Therefore, the creativity, innovation habit is expanding our network, expanding our community. The second mindset that holds us back is the belief that I have to be someone else. That for this to work, either everyone has to do what I say or I have to do someone else. I have to become someone else. And the truth is, no. We need these mindsets. We need to learn how a coach uses to play different players in a team, right? That's a good coach. A good coach isn't saying, I want, 10 of the same player. I want 5 of the same player. I want 11 of the same player. A good coach is saying, I get how to play this combination of players. The third issue that we all have is we care too much about what people will think. What will people say? How will people react? If I do this, what's everyone going to think of me? If I do that, how's everyone going to feel about me? They're going to embarrass me. That might humiliate me. That might risk my reputation. That's often a mindset that holds us back from being creative, from taking risks, from trying new things. I worked with someone a few years ago, and it was really interesting because his assistant came to him and said, everyone, like the exec that I was working with as a client, he'd been working late nights, every single night, in the office. And his assistant came to him and said, by the way, just so you know, everyone is so scared of you that even though they've finished their work and completed what they need to do and taken on more, they just wait till you leave and walk out the door before they go home. And his assistant was saying that people are so fearful of you that they can't even be honest with you at this point. And they're not scared of you because you have so much authority, or that you're mean to them, or you're rude. They're just scared because you've set such a high standard for yourself. But some of them want to get back to their young families. Some of them, they've just started something on the side. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to work it out. And his first response was, but the numbers are good, right? And the assistant was like, yeah, numbers are good. So he was like, leave it with me. We were talking, working together. The next week, on Monday, he left at 6 p.m. on the dot. He packed his bag, switched off his computer, went downstairs. They saw him pull out of his car, walked around. Everyone was peering out the window. And as soon as they saw his car drive off, everyone packed up and left. He did this every single day for the next month. He left at 6 p.m. on the dot. Everyone would watch his car disappear, and then they'd leave as well. A month later, his assistant came back to him and said, it's good to see you leave early, but I'm a bit confused. And he said, what are you confused about? His assistant said, you've stayed on top of everything. Like, you've got all your work done. Like, you haven't missed a beat, even though you've been leaving like 2 to 3 hours earlier than usual, but you haven't missed a beat. And he said, well, what I've been doing is I've been leaving at 6 p.m., driving around the block for half an hour, taking a work call, coming back to the office and finishing my work. And the assistant said, well, why didn't you just tell everyone that they could leave at 6, or that it was okay, or that, if that's the culture you wanted to set? And he said, well, if I told them, they might not believe me right now. As he said, if there was a sudden change in my demeanor and appearance, and I was telling them it was all okay, they might not believe me right now. And he said, I don't mind if I'm seen as someone who works really hard. I just don't want to have to change my perception amongst them. I don't need them to think of me differently to live better lives as stage one. Stage one is I just want them to get home to their families, set their priorities. Stage two is we'll figure out how they understand how I've been thinking about this, but I don't want to care about how I look to them right now. And I thought that this was a really fascinating point. Of course, there's so many things to extrapolate from this example, but the idea that often we try and change our perception before we make progress. We want people to view us differently more than doing the right thing. We want to be viewed as innovative more than make time to be innovative. We want to be viewed a certain way before we actually make that change and make that difference. And what I've found over and over and over again is smart people are not wasting their time trying to figure out their perception or how they're viewed. They're trying to figure out how they can still create an impact. And within that, figure it out. So today I want you to reflect on what risk would you be willing to take? What new thing would you be willing to give a go if you weren't scared about how people viewed it? What might you do? What might you be open to? And I don't want you to do it, I just want you to consider it. What is it that you would open up to if you didn't have the limit of worrying about other people's opinions? And the final story I want to tell you, the final mindset, is not what will people think, but it's we've always done it that way. It's always worked that way. That makes sense. It's always been this way and we've been doing okay and it will probably last for another 10 years. This mindset has caused so many challenges. A couple of years ago, interviewed the co-founder of a company, and he said that at one point his company was in something like $57 million of debt, and they were trying to be acquired by a bigger company. His company was small, it was in a lot of debt, they didn't know where the business was going, and they were willing to sell the company even for like 50 million just to pay off most of their debt and then figure it out. When they met the CEO of this big company, the CEO wasn't interested. He didn't see their company as being the future. Supposedly, the bigger CEO had the opportunity to buy this little company around 3 times and decided not to. The small company, the co-founder that I was speaking to was Mark Randolph, the co-founder of Netflix. And the big company was Blockbuster. And when Mark told me this story on my podcast, he was just like, we were desperate for them to buy us. It wasn't even like we went in there like we thought we were anything. He just goes, we were desperate. We just wanted them to take our debt off our hands, and we thought we'd work inside this bigger company. The idea was, oh no, we've always done it this way. This will always be the way that will work. There's so many examples of stories like that. And so this last example I'm going to give you is something that I want you to pay a lot of attention to. At Stanford, one of the professors came and gave the class an assignment. The assignment was, I'm going to give you $5, and you have 2 hours to make as much money as you can. And then afterwards, you're going to get a 3-minute presentation to explain what you did and why you did it and how much money you made. So all of the students went off. The first set of students, they built lemonade stands. They spent the $5 buying some lemonade, buying some cups, built a little stand, built a little sign, and started selling lemonade for like $1 a cup. How many are you going to sell? Another group spent the $5 on a bucket, a sponge, and washing liquid, and started doing a car wash. How many cars are you going to wash with 1 bucket and 1 sponge? They didn't win either. Now another group realized that the $5 was just a distraction. They were like, well, we have $5 in 2 hours, so it doesn't matter what we do with the $5. We have 2 hours to make as much money as we can. So they said, you know what? Let's make reservations at all the top restaurants in the area and sell them to companies close by who need those reservations for dinners, meetings, events, whatever it may be. So they did that. They realized the $5 was just a distraction, but the 2 hours was exactly what they needed to work on. And they made a lot more money. But they still didn't win. There was one more group that realized something that all the other groups didn't realize. There was only one in the whole class. They realized that not only was the $5 a distraction, they realized that the 2 hours was majority a distraction as well. They realized that the most valuable thing they had was a 3-minute presentation in front of a group of Stanford to-be grads. They sold that 3 minutes to a company that wanted to hire Stanford graduates. And they sold it for $650, and they won the entire competition. All right, give them a round of applause, yeah. So the last reflection I have for you today is, what's your $5? What's your 2 hours? And what's your 3 minutes? 3 minutes, when you look at it, sounds like the least valuable out of all those 3. But it's actually the most valuable. What's distracting you from being creative and finding opportunities? What are you paying such close attention to that you're actually missing out on where the value is? What annoying thing is taking up brain space and mind space that could be channeled into making an impact in the world? I want to thank you all for being such an incredible audience today, incredible community. So grateful to be here, and honestly, you've been phenomenal today. So a big round of applause for your talent. Thank you so much.